Coles claims her roommate broke the lease after she told her that braiding hair in their apartment was a no-go. Lacey Williams says the home salon was how she paid the rent, so Miss Coles basically evicted her.
Okay, I see I've got here Miss Angela Coles as my plaintiff, Lacey Williams as the defendant. Miss Coles, what brings you into court today?
I'm here at court today because I'm suing my ex-roommate for $2,700.
Okay, and why is she your ex-roommate, not your current roommate?
Because we agreed to live together in an apartment, but she left 3 months early.
Oh, wow. And
Yes.
how long were you supposed to share this apartment?
For 1 year.
1 year lease, okay. And you both signed a lease agreement?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and how long did you end up living together?
For 9 months.
And is it your apartment, or are you both on the lease?
We're both on the lease.
Okay, so do you have a lease to show the court?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead and offer that up to my bailiff. Just give him all your evidence. Thank you, Ms. Coles.
Okay.
Perfect. So we can all see a bit better what we're talking about here.
Yes.
Okay, residential lease agreement. This is what I was looking for. So yes, this says that us and we are you two ladies. Okay, I see you here, Ms. Coles. I see you here, Ms. Williams. You are both talking about your usage. The total rent combined is $1,800, so
Yes.
that's $900 each month for you and $900 each month for you. You both agree to that. It's for a year term. And I'm seeing that you both have signed it. You both agree?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a standing binding document. Okay. So two people in a residential lease. Now, Ms. Coles, why did Ms. Williams leave the agreement 3 months early?
Because we couldn't live together because we had agreement to where if she's going to braid hair, that she would let me know when the clients are coming.
Okay.
But unfortunately, there have been times to where the clients will show up without me knowing. So that was the issue. And also, she leave hair on the kitchen counter.
I'm so sorry. Did you say she was leaving hair on the kitchen counter?
Yes, she did. Yes.
Where you eat and prepare food?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm gonna get to you, Miss. I will hope you have something to say about that, Miss Williams. But I'm looking in this evidentiary packet here, and I'm seeing a photo of what looks to be the kitchen. I hope that my eyes are portraying me here, because this really looks a mess here with this hair on this kitchen top.
Yes.
And this looks like some synthetic hair for braiding.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Let me get to you, Miss Williams. What is this?
Hear me
young
out,
lady?
Your Honor.
Please, go ahead. Start talking.
So I actually have counter evidence for that picture. That night specifically, I was doing 3 heads.
Go ahead and give everything to my bailiff, Miss Williams. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay, go ahead with this counter evidence you got.
So that night specifically,
Yes.
I was doing 3 heads.
At what time?
I started at 9 a.m. and I finished at 2 a.m.
Oh, wow. Okay, so these
So-
were 3 consecutive clients.
Yes.
Okay.
The first style was feed-in braids. So
Okay, hold on. Let's look at the feed-in braids. Okay. So this was your first client of the day?
Yes.
Okay, and then who was your second, ma'am?
The second was knotless braids.
Okay, I know what
Down
knotless braids are. Let's
to
see the
back.
knotless braids. Okay, that's a nice clean job, nice clean parts. And then what's the last client?
The last client was faux locks.
Faux locks, another one of my favorites.
Down to her ankles, Your Honor.
Okay, so that took how many hours, ma'am?
That took about 8 hours.
Wow. Okay, so is this why the kitchen looked a hot mess?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, because you were too busy to clean up after yourself as you went along?
No, Your Honor. Because
Okay, well,
I was
tell the court, Ms.
exhausted,
Williams.
Your Honor, I had 3 consecutive back-to-back heads, and I didn't finish until 2 in the morning.
So you thought it was okay to leave your kitchen looking like this? Well, let me ask you this. What was the plan, Ms. Williams? You went to bed because you were exhausted. Let's say the court entertains that. When were you going to clean this up, ma'am?
That next morning, I did clean up my mess.
Did she clean it up, Ms.
Yes,
Coles?
she did, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the fact that you had a clientele rolling in and out of this cohabitated space. Do you think that's fair to your roommate?
Yes, I do think it's fair because we had a conversation.
Okay.
Me asking if that was okay.
Okay,
prior
yeah,
to
let me
me
look at
doing
these
it.
text messages. Hold on. Hey, Lacey, your client is here and has been waiting for 30 minutes. What time are you coming? So you late for your clientele, Miss Williams?
So, granted, we said before, I'm also a phlebotomist. And prior, I was a full-time working phlebotomist. So the reason
Right.
why I'm braiding is because my hours were cut.
Okay.
So now that my hours are cut, sometimes I'll take overtime shifts.
Well, you've still got to make your rent. I understand.
Yes.
So I'm never going to knock a hustle in this courtroom.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
I keep a clear, open communication with my clients, letting them know, hey, I'm gonna be a few minutes late. Sometimes, if I don't do that,
Miss Williams, is 20 minutes a few minutes?
no, Your Honor.
And later,
I feel like that my skill level just exceeded his talents and exceeded his ability to coach me.
So you think you're the next Coco Gauff, right?
Justice is back with the case of Angela Coles, who is suing Lacey Williams for turning their apartment into a hair salon.
She's telling you you're 30 minutes late, when she pressed send. And then your response is, I'll be there in 20 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now I'm not Albert Einstein, but that sounds like you about 50 minutes late for your client, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay now. Okay, your client is about to leave. I'm pulling in now. She has an attitude, heads up. I would have had an attitude as well, Miss Williams, if you come into my house 50 minutes late to style me. Hey, did you have an appointment today? This is on a new day. Yes, I'm racing down the street now. Okay, so now this is a habit, Miss Williams.
Yes.
You're constantly trying to burn the candle at both ends, coming from the hospital to the braiding salon, which is now what I'm calling this, which is supposed to be y'all's house.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Explain this to the court, ma'am.
Your Honor,
Yes.
so I have a great rapport with my clients. They understand that my hours are cut, so now this is my sole reinforcement to try to make the rent. So I keep a clear, open communication with my clients, letting them know, hey, I'm gonna be a few minutes late. Sometimes if I don't do that.
Miss Williams, is 20 minutes a few minutes?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, right. Now, let's get to you, Miss Coles. What do you tell these strangers that are in your home as they wait for Miss Williams to pull up?
I asked him, like, did they have an appointment today with
So you're a
Williams?
receptionist now?
Basically.
Okay.
That's a good way to put it, yes.
She
Yeah.
turned into the salon manager. So, Miss Williams, you've turned your home into a salon. You've turned Miss Coles into your office and salon manager and receptionist.
No.
No? Okay, that's what it's sounding like to the court, unless you can explain it to me, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor. So we have had multiple, okay, let me slow it down. After my hours were cut, we had a meeting of me asking her, was it okay for me to start braiding in the house?
Okay.
She was okay with that.
Originally?
Originally.
Okay.
I
This
cleaned
is
up-
true. You verify this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you were willing to meet this sister where she was in terms of financially accommodating her hustle?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds like being a good roommate, yes?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Williams, why did you move out?
Because I was no longer able to braid hair, and that was
What does that have to do with you living?
I was no longer able to pay rent.
Ah.
Me braiding hair was my sole, well, half of my sole income now.
Okay.
And now that I'm not able to braid, I can't make ends meet to make rent.
So you made the decision to pack up your things. Actually, I think I saw an exchange about that. Hey, I'm letting you know all my stuff will be out by the end of the week. I found a moving truck. I spoke to the landlord and we will do a walkthrough at the end of the month. You say, Ms. Coles, I can't believe you're moving out. Are you going to help me find a new roommate for the last 3 months? You say no. Why did you not feel that you had an obligation to this woman who you signed a 12-month lease for, and you decide unilaterally, Ms. Williams, at month 9, you're going to peace out? The math ain't mathing, Ms. Williams.
Because I could not do hair anymore, and that was my income, Your Honor. And I felt like...
Okay, thank you, Ms. Williams. I got that part. Ms. Coles, let me get to you. Did you move out at 9 months?
No, I stayed in the house.
Okay, and were you able to procure another roommate to pick up the slack from Ms. Williams?
Unfortunately, no. I had to pick up another job. I had to do ride share to make ends meet.
Okay, so now you're doing ride share, and so you really are a woman of many hats. You a salon manager. You
Basically.
I assume you have a day job,
Yep.
and now you're doing ride share and Grubhub and everything else. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me ask you this: so you paid out of your pocket this $2,700 that you're asking for today
Yes, ma'am.
for the 3 months that Ms. Williams abandoned the
Yes.
resident?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm gonna give you the last word, Ms. Williams. Convince the court that you don't owe her this money.
Your Honor, I notified my roommate, who I was under the impression could help me, as I helped her in our living situation as roommates do. And Your Honor, I just feel like I don't owe her any money.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you said that, Ms. Williams. I'm ready to rule on this matter. In this matter, ladies, listen, you're both beautiful young ladies. You really are. You both have bright futures. One thing that you both are willing to do is work hard. And I want to commend that because let me tell you something. You're not going to get anywhere in this country without a work ethic.
Right.
So I love that. Now, the problem with you, Ms. Williams, you're selfish. I got to just tell you straight up, sweetheart. You're a selfish, self-centered young lady. Everything you have told the court this entire time has been about you. Your car got whatever. Your clients were late. You running late. You need help. You need grace. You need somebody to give to you. This is a one-way street, ma'am, and it's come to a dead end. Ms. Coles, I want to tell you, young lady, that it's one thing to be gracious and meet someone halfway, which you have done. It's another thing to be taken advantage of.
Right.
Okay, and at some point in this equation, you were overextending yourself to a young lady who clearly wasn't willing to offer you the same extension.
Right.
And at some point, if you do this in the future, you're going to really get the short end of the stick.
Right.
This time, it cost you $2,700. Next time, it could be much worse.
Exactly, yes.
I hope you've learned a lesson in this, Ms. Coles, and I hope you have too, Ms. Williams. The next time somebody is gracious enough to allow you to get a commercial enterprise off the ground in y'all's residential home, operate with a little less entitlement and a little more gratitude. In this case, I'm going to rule in complete favor of Ms. Coles, the plaintiff. You will be paid $2,700 from the defendant. That is my ruling.
Judge Eboni has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $2,700.
I'm glad I finally got my compensation I rightly deserve.
I have nothing to say.
Okay. You've had your day in court, ladies. Please follow me.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
Did you expect to participate in the winnings?
Yes, actually. Yes,
tell the court why.
Because it was my coaching that brought him to this level. He could have done this on his own. It's not rocket science.
This is Equal Justice. Ernie Rivers claims his former tennis student fired him after winning 2 tournaments, but failed to pay him what he was owed. Max Porter says he needed a better coach, and Mr. Rivers wasn't up to the task.
Good afternoon. I see I've got Ernie Rivers here as my plaintiff, Max Porter as the defendant. Mr. Rivers, I see you're suing for $950. You say that this man owes you a percentage of his tennis competition winnings, but you, sir, say that you don't owe him anything. Let's start actually with you today, sir. Was this man your tennis coach?
Yes, Your Honor. This man was my tennis coach for this tournament and the last tournament that I participated in.
And when you came to him, how was your skill set?
I would say my skill set was pretty good. I would say that my talent level was at a pretty optimal level for where I was at the time. And with Coach Rivers' tutelage, I was able to proceed at a level that I thought my skills were reaching at the time. But during the tournament, I was already figuring about coach shopping, if you will, for another coach, considering the fact that I'm really interested in going into the U.S. Open. I feel like that I have the talent to be able to proceed and perform at that type of level. And I have nothing but respect for Coach Rivers. He was a great coach. He still is a great coach. But I feel like that my skill level just exceeded his talents and exceeded his ability to coach me.
So you think you're the next Coco Gauff, right?
I mean, maybe not to that level.
And that's what I heard.
Maybe to not that level, Your Honor, but hopefully close.
Hopefully close.
Again, that's no disrespect to Coach Rivers. It's just...
Well, it is what it is.
Yes, exactly.
That's what it is. Okay, so thank you. Hold on one second. Coach Rivers, that's a searing indictment, sir. What do you say about that? How is your training?
Coming up on Equal Justice.
Pertaining to this
But there he
lawsuit.
goes again, Your Honor. He's always putting words in
I'm not
my
putting
mouth.
words in his mouth, Your Honor. I'm
Okay,
merely stating the facts.
Gentlemen.
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with the case of Ernie Rivers, who brought Max Porter to court over tennis tournament winnings.
Well, Your Honor, I've been trained to teach and coach men of his talent. I mean, look at the end of it. He won 2 championships under my coaching. I didn't even ask for any percentage from the first tournament.
Okay. And is that standard, Coach? Do you normally do that?
No, normally, but I wanted to impress upon him, you know, how serious I was about it. I did get my weekly rate.
Okay, so you did get paid as a coach. You just didn't get your winning
I didn't
share.
get my bonus.
Got
10%,
you.
yes.
Okay, so kind of like an investment.
Yes, Your Honor.
A little bit. Is that how you took it, sir?
Yeah, I took it necessarily as an investment, but I also took it as a measurement of both of our abilities and both of our skill sets at the time merging with one another, especially when the tournament in question as pertaining to this
But there he
lawsuit.
goes again, Your Honor. He's always putting words in
I'm not
my
putting
mouth,
words in his mouth, Your Honor. I'm
Okay,
merely stating the facts.
Gentlemen, okay. Let me ask you this, Mr. Porter. When did you communicate to your coach that he was fired? You said 2 days prior to the
2 days
finals.
prior, yes.
How did you send him a text? How did you let him know he was fired? about it?
I let him know I wanted to be as gentlemanly as possible. I wanted to let him know, so I told him face to face.
Oh, you told him face to face. And how'd you take it, Coach?
I didn't take it well, but I backed off and I watched the game in the rafters.
Okay,
basically.
so you watched it. Now let me ask you this, Coach. When you're watching your, up until very recently, client participating, did you expect, if he were to win, did you expect to participate in the winnings?
Yes, actually, yes.
And tell the court why.
Because it was my coaching that brought him to this level. He couldn't have done this on his own. It's not rocket science.
What do you think about
I
that?
can see that I couldn't have done it on my own, Your Honor. Like I said before, I greatly appreciate Coach Rivers' tutelage and his style of training.
You appreciate it so much, Mr. Porter, that you fired him 2 days out. Okay.
Judge Ebony's verdict when equal justice returns. This is Equal Justice.
Mr. Porter, I don't think that you have an issue in terms of your level of play. The court does find an issue, sir, with your level of maturity. Okay? It's not really just your age, because we all know some grown folks into their 40s and 50s that are still very immature. Because, see, you can't take the good and not get what you interpret, sir, as the bad. That's what a coach is. That's what a disciplinarian is. That is what a person of authority, especially one, sir, that you hire, is supposed to do. Now, here's the thing, sir. If you think you know better and you're going to say, I got it, then you go have it. But what you're not going to do on this court's time, Mr. Porter, is give this man a 48-hour firing, disregard everything he's poured into you for the past 4 months. This man has fiscally invested in you. He forewent his 10% of your first successful tournament in which you both agreed he was pivotal to your winning. I'm not going to do that to this man, sir. Therefore, the court finds in favor of the plaintiff. Sir, I give you your entire $950. And, sir, I hope that you got it right. I hope you're making a good decision by going at it alone. That's the court's ruling.
Judge Ebony has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $950.
The atmosphere in the courtroom was charged with a unique energy, a blend of serious legal duty and the vibrant spirit of the woman presiding over it. At the center of the room, the nameplate sat clearly for all to see, bearing the name Judge Eboni K. Williams. To Judge Williams, that nameplate was more than just a label, it was a testament to a philosophy. She often told those who entered her sanctuary of law that the only thing that mattered in this particular courtroom was how she saw things. Her perspective was shaped by a rich tapestry of American life. She was from North Carolina by way of Louisiana, carrying with her the warmth of the South, but she also possessed some West Coast cool and a sharp New York edge. This combination made her a formidable yet fair arbiter of the truth. One afternoon, as the proceedings began, Judge Williams looked toward a woman standing before her. The woman seemed tense, her posture rigid. Judge Williams asked with a calm but firm tone if they had a problem. The woman quickly replied that she did not have a problem, addressing the judge as Your Honor. For Judge Williams, the essence of the law was simple. Equal justice was about the most important values of the country, freedom and integrity. These were the ideals she strived for every single day. She understood the dynamics of authority and respect, once telling a woman that while she ran her own household, a man had the right to run his. Judge Williams had decided to become an attorney and pursue the law because she wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. She knew that the court could not hold a person accountable without clear evidence and a fair hearing. Her courtroom was a place for people from all sectors of life, whether they were black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer. That inclusivity was the heart of what Equal Justice with Judge Eboni K. Williams was all about. The first case of the day involved a dispute between two former roommates. Angela Coles, the plaintiff, was claiming that her roommate had broken their lease. The tension between them was palpable. Angela's grievance was specific. She had told her roommate that braiding hair in their shared apartment was a no-go, yet it continued. On the other side stood Lacey Williams, the defendant. Lacey argued that her home salon was her primary way of paying the rent. From Lacey's perspective, Angela had basically evicted her by making her business impossible to conduct. Judge Williams looked over her notes. She acknowledged Angela Coles as the plaintiff and Lacey Williams as the defendant. She turned to Miss Coles and asked what brought her into court today. Angela explained that she was suing her ex-roommate for the sum of $2,700. Judge Williams probed further, asking why Lacey was an ex-roommate and not a current one. Angela explained that they had agreed to live together, but Lacey had left 3 months before the lease was over. The judge noted that a 1-year lease was a significant commitment. Both women had signed the agreement and had lived together for 9 months. The apartment belonged to both of them according to the lease. Angela handed her evidence to the bailiff, who passed it up to the bench. Judge Williams examined the residential lease agreement. She confirmed that the document identified both women and stated that the total monthly rent was $1,800. This meant each woman was responsible for $900 every month. Since both had signed it for a full year, the judge declared it a standing, binding document. Judge Williams then asked Angela why Lacey had decided to leave 3 months early. Angela explained that the living situation had become untenable. They had an agreement that if Lacey was going to braid hair, she would notify Angela when clients were arriving. Unfortunately, Angela claimed, clients would often show up without her knowing. Even more distressing to Angela was the cleanliness of the home. She told the court that Lacey would leave hair on the kitchen counter. Judge Williams was visibly taken aback, asking if this was the same counter where they prepared and ate food. Angela confirmed that it was. The judge looked at the evidentiary packet and saw a photo of the kitchen. She remarked that she hoped her eyes were not betraying her because the kitchen looked like a mess with hair all over the counter. She identified it as synthetic hair used for braiding. She then turned to Lacey Williams and asked for her side of the story. Lacey asked the judge to hear her out. She provided counter-evidence to the bailiff. She explained that on the night the photo was taken, she was working on 3 heads of hair. She had started at 9 in the morning and did not finish until 2 in the morning. These were 3 consecutive clients. The first style was feed-in braids, the second was knotless braids, and the final client received faux locks that went down to her ankles. The last style alone took about 8 hours. Judge Williams asked if this was why the kitchen was a hot mess, suggesting Lacey might have been too busy to clean up after herself. Lacey admitted she was exhausted and went to bed, but insisted she cleaned everything the next morning. Angela conceded that Lacey did eventually clean it up. However, the issue of a constant stream of strangers in the home remained. Judge Williams asked Lacey if she thought it was fair to her roommate to have a clientele rolling in and out of a shared living space. Lacey argued it was fair because they had discussed it and Angela had initially agreed. The judge then reviewed text messages between the two. One message from Angela told Lacey that a client had been waiting for 30 minutes and asked when Lacey would be home. It appeared Lacey was often late for her own clients. Lacey explained that she was also a phlebotomist. Her hours at the hospital had been cut, so she took overtime shifts when possible. Braiding hair was how she made up the lost income to pay her rent. Judge Williams noted that she would never knock a person's hustle, but being 50 minutes late for a client was excessive. Other messages showed Angela acting as a de facto receptionist, greeting clients and informing Lacey when they arrived with an attitude. The judge pointed out that Lacey had essentially turned her home into a salon and her roommate into a salon manager. Lacey insisted that after her hours were cut, they had a meeting where she asked Angela if it was okay to braid hair in the house. Angela had originally agreed to help her friend and roommate stay afloat financially. Judge Williams commended Angela for being a good roommate and trying to accommodate Lacey's situation. However, Lacey eventually moved out because she felt she could no longer braid hair there, and without that income, she couldn't afford the rent. She gave Angela a week's notice. Angela was left to pay the full rent for the remaining 3 months. She couldn't find another roommate and had to take on extra work as a rideshare driver and delivery worker to make ends meet. She paid the $2,700 out of her own pocket. In her final words, Lacey told the court she didn't feel she owed any money because she had notified her roommate and expected her to understand the situation. Judge Williams was ready to rule. She told both women they were beautiful and hardworking, which she admired. However, she had a stern word for Lacey. She told Lacey that she was being selfish and self-centered, expecting grace and flexibility from Angela without offering much in return. The judge told Angela that while it was gracious to meet someone halfway, she had allowed herself to be taken advantage of. Judge Williams ruled in complete favor of Angela Coles. Lacey Williams was ordered to pay the $2,700. Angela expressed relief at receiving the compensation she deserved, while Lacey had nothing more to say. After a short break, the next case began. Ernie Rivers, a tennis coach, was suing his former student, Max Porter, for $950. Mr. Rivers claimed he was owed a percentage of Max's tournament winnings. Max argued that he had fired Mr. Rivers because he needed a better coach and didn't owe him a dime. Max Porter told the court that while Mr. Rivers was a great coach, Max felt his own talent had exceeded the coach's ability. He had aspirations for the United States Open and wanted to shop for a new coach. He admitted he won 2 championships under Mr. Rivers' tutelage, but felt it was time to move on. Mr. Rivers was hurt by this assessment. He explained that he had trained many talented players and that Max had won those championships specifically because of his coaching. He hadn't even asked for a percentage from the first tournament because he wanted to show his commitment. He had received his weekly rate, but was now seeking the bonus from the winnings of the second tournament. The conflict reached a head when Max fired Mr. Rivers face-to-face just 2 days before a major final. Despite being fired, Mr. Rivers watched the match from the rafters. He felt he was still entitled to a share of the winnings because his months of hard work had brought Max to that level. Max argued that it wasn't rocket science, and he could have done it on his own, though he later admitted he appreciated the training. Judge Williams looked at Max and told him the court found an issue with his level of maturity. She explained that a coach is a disciplinarian and a person of authority. Max couldn't just take the benefits of the coaching and then discard the coach 48 hours before a victory to avoid paying a bonus. She noted that Mr. Rivers had fiscally invested in Max by foregoing his previous 10%. The court found in favor of the plaintiff, Ernie Rivers. Max Porter was ordered to pay the full $950. Mr. Rivers felt that justice had been served. Max, though disappointed, accepted the ruling and looked forward to getting back to the tennis court. Judge Williams watched them leave, hoping they had both learned a valuable lesson about integrity and the cost of success. Can you read to me the nameplate? It says Judge Eboni K. Williams. So the only thing that matters in this particular courtroom is how I see. I am from North Carolina by way of Louisiana with some West Coast cool and a New York edge. This is my domain, a place where the scales of justice are balanced with a firm hand and a compassionate heart. I looked across the bench at the individuals standing before me and asked a simple yet piercing question. Do we have a problem, ma'am? The woman shook her head and replied that no, she did not, Your Honor. In this space, equal justice is all about the most important values of our country. It is about freedom and integrity. Those are the specific things that I am striving for every single day. I told one litigant clearly that while she runs her household, this man gets to run his. I decided to become an attorney and pursue the law because I wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. This court cannot hold this woman accountable without evidence. We see people from all sectors of life, including black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer. That is exactly what equal justice with Judge Eboni K. Williams is all about. The first case of the day involved a dispute between former roommates. Angela Coles claimed her roommate broke the lease after she told her that braiding hair in their apartment was a no-go. On the other side, Lacey Williams argued that the home salon was the only way she could pay the rent. Essentially, Miss Coles had evicted her. I looked at the two women. I saw I had Miss Angela Coles as my plaintiff and Lacey Williams as the defendant. I asked Miss Coles what brought her into court today. She explained that she was suing her ex-roommate for the amount of $2,700. I asked why she was an ex-roommate and not a current one. Miss Coles stated they agreed to live together in an apartment, but the defendant left 3 months early. They were supposed to share the apartment for a 1-year lease. They both signed the agreement and lived together for 9 months. Both names were on the lease. Miss Coles offered the lease agreement to my bailiff as evidence. I examined the residential lease agreement. It confirmed that the total rent combined was $1,800, meaning $900 each month for each person. They both signed it, making it a standing binding document. I asked Miss Coles why Miss Williams left the agreement 3 months early. She explained that they could not live together because they had an agreement where if Miss Williams was going to braid hair, she would let her know when clients were coming. Unfortunately, there were times when clients would show up without her knowing. Even worse, Miss Williams would leave hair on the kitchen counter. I was shocked. I asked if she meant the same counter where they eat and prepare food. Miss Coles confirmed this was true. I looked at the evidentiary packet and saw a photo of the kitchen. It was truly a mess with hair on the kitchen top. It looked like synthetic hair for braiding. I turned to Miss Williams and asked for her side of the story. She asked me to hear her out and provided counter evidence. She explained that on that specific night, she was doing 3 heads of hair. She started at 9 a.m. and did not finish until 2 a.m. These were 3 consecutive clients. The first style was feed-in braids. The second was knotless braids, which were a very clean job. The last client received faux locks down to her ankles. That style alone took about 8 hours. Miss Williams admitted the kitchen was a mess because she was too exhausted to clean up as she went along, but she claimed she cleaned it the next morning. Miss Coles confirmed that she did eventually clean it. However, the issue of clientele rolling in and out of a shared living space remained. I looked at text messages where Miss Coles had to tell Lacey that her client had been waiting for 30 minutes. It turned out Miss Williams was also a phlebotomist, but her hours had been cut, so she turned to braiding to make the rent. I will never knock a hustle in this courtroom, but Miss Williams was often late. In one exchange, she was 20 minutes late on top of being 30 minutes late. I told her I was not Albert Einstein, but that sounded like being 50 minutes late for a client. Miss Coles ended up acting like a receptionist and salon manager for strangers in her own home. Miss Williams argued that they had a meeting where Miss Coles originally agreed to the braiding. Miss Coles verified this. She was trying to be a good roommate. But when Miss Williams could no longer braid hair, she could no longer pay the rent. She decided to pack up and move out at month 9 of a 12-month lease. The math was not adding up. Miss Coles stayed and had to take on extra jobs like rideshare and Grubhub to pay the $2,700 out of her own pocket. In my ruling, I told them they were both hardworking young ladies, which is a great trait in this country. However, I told Miss Williams she was being selfish and self-centered. She expected grace and help but gave none in return. I told Miss Coles that while it is good to be gracious, she had been taken advantage of. I ruled in complete favor of the plaintiff, Miss Coles. Miss Williams was ordered to pay $2,700. Miss Coles felt she got the compensation she deserved. The next case involved Ernie Rivers, a tennis coach, and his former student, Max Porter. Mr. Rivers was suing for $950, claiming he was owed a percentage of competition winnings. Max Porter argued he did not owe anything because he needed a better coach. Max admitted that Mr. Rivers was a great coach, but felt his own skill level had exceeded the coach's ability. Max had ambitions for the U.S. Open and thought he was the next big star. Coach Rivers was insulted. He had trained Max to win 2 championships. He did not even ask for a percentage from the first tournament because he wanted to show how serious he was. He had received his weekly rate, but not the bonus from the winnings. Max had fired the coach face-to-face only 2 days before the final match. Even so, Coach Rivers watched the game from the rafters, believing his coaching was what brought Max to that level. I looked at Mr. Porter and told him his level of play was fine, but his level of maturity was the problem. You cannot take the good from a coach and disregard the rest. A coach is a disciplinarian and a person of authority. Max gave this man a 48-hour firing after 4 months of investment. Coach Rivers had even given up his 10% from the first tournament to invest in Max's success. I found in favor of the plaintiff. I awarded Mr. Rivers the full $950. I told Mr. Porter I hoped he made a good decision by going at it alone. Justice was served, and Coach Rivers felt vindicated while Max accepted the ruling and looked forward to more practice.